Better.
Awesome.
And I've got my beats
Just
on,
in
so I hope
time.
they're gonna work okay.
Yeah, you should be fine, Jim.
Yeah.
All right, we are going live.
I have the MDOs, but I hear they don't work quite so well.
We couldn't get them to work with Zoom.
No, they're just quiet because they use the mic on the wire for telephone calls.
Mm-hmm.
For Zoom, and it's just a little too quiet.
And the ambios don't use the binaural stuff, and like they do in Team Talk, but they don't on Zoom for whatever reason. All right, welcome YouTube. We're glad you're here. It's been a while since we've done one of these. So, just in time. We have never been on time. Never.
No, not in 7 years.
No. Yeah, this podcast has been going 7 years. That's crazy. So the order of things, we'll talk very briefly about the Apple event since we did a special on that earlier in the week. We'll have that kind of as our big news segment, and then we'll go into, I'm going to talk about the WhatsApp group for our ad, and then we'll go into the main topic after that. Sound good, everyone?
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to bring us recording. All right, 3, 2, 1. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the iACast. All right, my name is Michael Dowies, and today I'm here with several folks. We have a good group for this episode. We have Michael Babcock.
Hello, I see. Start with the Michaels.
Yep. Leslie Dixon.
Hello. I sense some bias going on here.
We have Jim Barber.
Good evening.
And Taylor Arndt.
Hello, everyone.
I think I've got everybody. This is a bigger group than we're used to, so, you know.
Been a while since you've had a crowd?
Yeah, we haven't really done a good episode live on YouTube in quite some time, so this is, pretty nice.
Yeah.
So, this is in as a podcast, so yeah, it's really, really cool. It's great to be back. So it's been a very busy few weeks as far as tech, I would say. We still have to post an unboxing of the Envision Glasses. We have that recorded. We have a lot of things that we are, in the works. We just posted our special for the Apple event. And we did this episode, and Taylor has a few things in the works. So iACast is back, folks. We're making it happen. And so Apple had an event this past week, and we did a special on it. Was there anything that people thought was interesting?
I was really happy to hear about the fact that they're going to make the AirPod case make a sound when you look for it now. That's something I've been waiting for a while. And that it's going to have a spot for a lanyard or a clip. Usually I buy a silicone case to do that, but I'm excited about that, and we'll probably get another set of AirPods Pro partly for that reason, and because I missed them.
I think it's cool you could charge them with the watch charger.
Yes, that was cool too. I have a watch charger on my keychain that I love carrying, so I thought that was great.
Yeah, so my AirPods Pro setup right now is the case goes into one of those silicone cases, and on the front is a spot for an AirTag. Well, I don't know if everyone's seen them, but AirTags are not small, so it definitely increases the bulk of the AirPods. So when I heard that got me super excited. I'm excited also for the Ultra, but the Apple Watch Ultra, but I'd rather someone else buy it before I go spend money on it to tell me what they think of it.
You don't want a tank on your wrist, do you?
I don't have a problem with the size, because it's my understanding that only the screen is bigger and the casing is similar size to the 45. So I'm not hugely worried about that. I don't want to spend $800 for a watch on my wrist right now.
It's cool, but it's for such a specific user that I can't see me buying it for the the cool features that I'm most
Well,
likely never going to use.
The cool thing is that I found out through Twitter that a lot of the features announced are actually watchOS 9 features. So like the backtrack and a lot of the orientation mobility features I think are going to be amazing for people that are blind are going to be on all the watches anyway.
I was wondering about that.
Yeah, my understanding is the backtrack at least will go back to the Watch 6.
Mm-hmm.
That's nice.
That is nice.
I mean, that's as far back as we know currently. It may even go back to the 5, but probably whatever runs watchOS 9. The main reason why I want this new watch is the battery life. I forget to charge my watch.
I charge mine every day, whether it needs it or not.
Yeah, I try to do that, and then I just forget,
See, I'm that way with AirPods. That's why when I heard that the new AirPods could charge with the watch charger, I said, oh, so when I take my watch off the charger to get into bed, because I usually charge it just before then, I'll just slap that charger on the back of the AirPods, and then my AirPods will always be charged. Because there is more often than not, a lot of times that I go to use my AirPods and the case is dead. Because there's really no easy way to tell that, and my understanding is the sound will even play to let you know that the case is charging.
Oh yeah.
Oh yes.
Nice. I actually having a longer battery life on the AirPod case in the AirPod 3s actually made things worse for me, because now that I can go 3 or 4 or 5 days without charging the case, I'm much more likely to forget than when I was having to charge it every other day.
Yeah. So
do we know how good the do we know how good the GPS is on the earlier series of the watch, like the 6, 7, and 8, or 6 and 7?
They say it's an L1 GPS. They just now added the L5, I think, in the Ultra. I don't know if that's in the 8 or not.
I don't know that it is.
Yeah, I don't remember.
Right, and certainly not in earlier versions. So while the trackback feature may be there, I'm wondering how effective it's
That's a good point. It may be more accurate on the better GPS watches.
Yeah.
I also wonder if they were going to put that in the phone, right? Because that feels like a really nice feature to have on my phone.
Right.
Is that trackback feature? So
this would be so handy for when I get lost on the VA campus.
Well, there is Clue, if you guys have played with that.
I have played with it and never quite managed to make it work.
Me
What
either.
is that?
So it uses AR, and you set a start point. And a tip that I heard is that if you can put your phone flat on something like a door frame or something, and then you start the path. So you take the route that you want to go. An example is from the front desk to your hotel room. So you would start the path at the front desk, you'd walk to your hotel room, you would end that path. And then with the Clue app, you should be able to turn around and follow that path, including the turns that you made, in order to get back to the place where you originally started.
I want to play with this now.
Yeah, it's
free.
specifically for backtracking in indoor environments, making paths in indoor environments. But I played with it a little bit and I wasn't able to get it to work.
So it's taking cues from the camera rather than from GPS.
Yes.
I think might be a little challenging for some.
And I wonder if it's using footsteps and other.
I think it is.
Data.
I think it is, because sometimes it says take 3 steps, whatever, and do this. So.
And I don't know. And I don't know if there's been any additional support added with the LiDAR devices, and if it uses the LiDAR as well.
I want to play with this now, y'all. This is not good.
No, it's not.
Derailed. Trainer derailed.
Yeah.
That's interesting. So. There is everything about the iPhones beyond just the watches and AirPods, but I may have to get me some AirPods because of the features. I really if they bring that to AirPods 4, then yeah, but that may be another year from now. So I don't know. I may have to get some Pros, even though I just don't like the ear tips.
I bought some.
And I may
curious.
look at the foam tips as well.
Now I'm curious what everyone thought of the dynamic island.
I love it. As a low vision perspective, but I do think it's going to add more to voiceover. But I think the items in the dynamic island will be in the status bar for voiceover. For people that may not have heard our special, the dynamic island is on the Pro models of the phones. and it replaces the notch. And it's basically where all the cameras are, and it will have icons and other notification items, like if you're playing music or on a call, that expand if you double tap and hold, or if you do different actions on those items.
It's unclear to me how this is specific to the notch, right? I mean, this feels just like a different UI component that they've added to the OS. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to have to wait and see how the fact that it's replacing the notch makes it different or interesting, and how VoiceOver works with it.
Yeah, because basically they took out the notch. There's no more notch. There's like a little pill-shaped hole in the top. It's not really a hole, but it's just a black space. And so that instead of it being an eyesore, they tried to make it into a UI, like a design portion of the phone, like this is supposed to be here, instead of, oh, look at that thing.
But somehow it's not just an extension of the screen, which
right.
is interesting.
Mm-hmm.
It's some other kind of thing that I don't quite understand. That's not just extending the screen into that space. So we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, I'm not really sure how it's going to work with VoiceOver, but it'll be interesting.
It will.
And someone else can go buy that Pro phone, because I don't have the money for it right now.
I have not decided if I'm going to buy the 14 or the 14 Pro. I got to look at the specs again and make a decision there.
Taylor and my phones will be here Friday. The Pros have the A16 chips. The 14 Plus have the chips from last year. One thing that I like, though, is that they went back to just the 14 and 14 Plus, like the 8 and 8 Plus.
Right.
I like that, because
we're not
it kind of brings
into the mini and all those
There's
other.
not as many different variants, and I like that.
Is anybody bummed out that the mini is gone?
No.
No.
I mean, I think there were some people who really like that small form factor. I don't miss it, but I was curious if anybody did.
And you can still buy the 13 mini, which has the same processor. So,
That's true. Yep.
So, I don't know. That's just my opinion. Everybody wants bigger phones, and, if you want something small, there's the SE2 or SE 2022.
This is true.
That is true. Yeah.
I will most likely end up going with the Pro, but I'm not decided yet.
So, and this year I went with the gold phone, because the purple is almost just black. I mean, it's purple in certain color, in certain lighting, but it's not enough to say, ooh, shiny. So that's just my view on that. But I'm really excited about what we're getting with the watches and the phones this year. I feel like this was a pretty nice year as far as features.
I was blown away by the 48 megapixel camera, and just still like, whoa.
And and this is I watch a lot of videos on TikTok because I'm addicted, and so many people are like, well, Samsung has a 108 megapixel camera in their phones, but I'm like, look. Your phone has 5 cameras on the Samsung S22 Ultra. That thing looks like it's a multi-eyed alien just ready to blink.
Right.
I'm like, guys, how many camera bumps are you going to put in that thing? Will the back of a Samsung phone look like Swiss cheese because it's just going to be camera bumps at one point?
I don't know, but I mean, Samsung's been ahead as far as the number of megapixels they put in there. Yep. They've been ahead in that area for a while.
If they add one more camera, they can have a braille cell on the back of their phones.
Oh
gosh.
Because seriously, it's three lenses on the left and 2 going down on the right of that. So if they add one more, we'll have a full braille cell.
Right now we have an ER contraction.
Would that be an ER or a Q?
3 on the left. Oh, you're right. It's a Q. Okay.
It could be either one. Depends on how they're lined up.
No, it would be
because it's 3 on the left, 2 on the right.
Yeah. 2 on the right. If it was 2 on the left and 3 on the right, it would be an ER.
I mean, maybe if the flash is in that position, then it's kind of like a braille cell. I don't know. I haven't looked at it that close.
I'm not going to buy a Samsung to find out. So
No.
not interested.
So, but no, I keep seeing these videos. Like iPhone is terrible marketing. They do all this stuff. I'm like, all the phone manufacturers do this, but the ones that really just boil my blood are The Verge and and Linus Tech Tips on YouTube are putting out these clickbait articles saying that Apple is saying that you will die if you don't buy their new phones.
What?
Yeah.
Wow.
That's literally what their articles are saying, because Apple has like the new satellite calling and all these crash detection.
Yeah.
And because they did a lot of worst case scenarios in the event. That's why they're using this clickbait. Apple wants you to think you will die if you don't buy their new phones, and it just really annoys me. I don't feel like that's Apple's marketing at all.
I just want to know if the crash detection is going to go off every time I run into a wall.
Well, it depends on how loud of a noise you make when you run into that wall. Probably has something to do with.
I mean, the fall detection goes off when I go bowling. So.
Really?
Oh yeah, I've never actually had fall detection go off when I've fallen. I've had it go off several times when I was doing other things. And the time I fell, it didn't activate it. So
that's interesting.
So we'll see what I can do with crash detection.
Well, and that'll be on the phone and the watch.
Mm-hmm.
So you'll have double the chance of getting that to go off. Yep. So that's kind of the big news. Well, apparently, and I totally missed this. And Michael, if you've heard about this, please let us know. I've heard that Google announced their new Pixel 7. Was that announced?
So my understanding is yes, that the Pixel 7 had been announced. I don't know for sure because now I'm second guessing myself. But remember, any announcements that are shared about the Pixel 6 or 7, even if they're not announced, aren't really big things, because at Google I/O they showed the 7.
Oh, did they?
Yeah. So they wanted to get ahead of the leaks before people were going out there saying this is what's going to be on the 7. So I'm not sure if they have actually officially announced it yet.
Okay, I couldn't. With Google, it's kind of weird. They just, here it is, boom. Okay.
Sometimes they have events, other times not so much.
Yeah, right. I was going to say I haven't heard anything about it, but Google has a tendency to just throw stuff out there and say, "Here it is, enjoy."
Mm-hmm.
Bye.
I mean, Samsung does their Unpacked event several times a year, and it's like, okay, what Unpacked event is this? And then Samsung did publicly go out and say, we have a foldable phone. Apple doesn't. I mean, okay, I know a lot of people like the concept of a foldable phone. If I want something that's 8 inches, I'll bring an iPad mini.
I have to say I was fairly impressed with it. One of my veterans had one and showed it to me. And so when it's folded, it's a phone. It looks just like a large smartphone. But then when you unfold it, it just moves everything from that smartphone screen to the tablet. And I was really kind of impressed with how seamless it was, and how well it folded and fit together. So it was kind of cool. I still wouldn't buy one, but it was kind of cool.
Yeah, for me, it's not enough of a feature to get me to switch to Android. But if Apple came out with one, I would be kind of excited for it.
Yeah. And we have Logic Pro X Gaming in our YouTube chat, and I do agree with him that the Dynamic Island is kind of a stupid name.
I feel like it's a place I might want to visit, but I don't know that I want to. Right.
I don't want it in my pocket all the time. Anyways, the Pixel 7 has not officially been released. However, Google did send press invitation to an October 6th event. So it's almost obvious that that's when they'll actually officially announce it.
Okay.
Well, see, I think several of you guys that are older may get this kind of a pun. But instead of the dynamic island, they could have called it the static little pill.
Wow.
They could have called it the giant little pill. They didn't have to, they wouldn't have to obscure it that much.
Right. And then the first thing I think of when I hear dynamic island is the plane.
Exactly. Right.
Fantasy Island flashbacks. It just
I'm amused that Michael thinks that Jagged Little Pill was something you have to be old to remember.
Right.
Well, we have Taylor, born in 1999. That was after her time. So
yeah, but still,
yeah. I know.
Pick on the old people, Michael. Go pick on the youngin' over there.
But it's interesting. And one of the things that a lot of tech reviewers are like, apparently everybody in the Steve Jobs Theater laughed when they heard the name. And once they showed what it does visually, it kind of makes sense. But I still think it's funny. I don't know. Again, it's one of those things you just have to kind of see it in action to really see if you like it or not, I think.
Right.
So, all right. Well, I guess that's, if you want to learn more, there's a lot of stuff online. You can.
It's everywhere.
Yeah. We're not going to keep talking about it. I mean, we'll have an unboxing of several things. So just wait for that. Oh, actually, I lied. I totally lied. There is one more thing I wanted to talk about. There is going to be a startup sound on the new Pro models of the phones.
I like how you did that one more thing, Michael.
Yeah. There'll be a new startup sound on the new phones, and I'm really intrigued by this. Apparently, you can hear it online. I haven't heard it yet, but
yeah, Steven Scott actually played it on Double Tap on Friday. If you want to hear it, I'm curious though, is it a new startup sound on when the phone's already up and VoiceOver has told you the time, or is it a new startup sound when the Apple logo shows?
I've heard it's when the Apple logo shows.
Yeah, I mean, the way they talked about this is only on the 14s, right? Which means it's very deeper than the OS. So, be really interesting. So I can't wait for Michael for you to get your phone and tell us about that. That'll be kind of interesting.
Yeah, I'm really interested to see what they do. It feels like they're kind of making everything, if you have a Mac, you get the same experience as if you have an iPhone. So I'm wondering if they're going to do that on the iPads this year too.
Now, is that only going to be on the Pro model of the 14, or is it going to be on the
Pro models? Yeah, so
Pro model, yeah.
In anything with the A16, I bet. So I don't think it'll be on it won't be on the 14 because they're still using that A15 chip.
Right.
Apple has so many numbers: A16, iOS 16, watchOS 9, macOS
whatever
13.
Yeah,
and then
it's a lot
iPhone
to keep up with.
14 and Apple Watch and Apple TV and
Yep.
It's like, man, which one is it? So, it must take a lot of effort to memorize all that stuff when you're doing those events, and it's
That's what
interesting.
teleprompters are for.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting because some people want them to go back to the studio audience kind of feeling. And some people want them to stick with this new format. What are y'all's thoughts on that?
I think it's time to go back to the studio audience.
Agreed.
I don't really have a preference.
So it's interesting because as a blind person, I really like the audio description, which I think would not be there if they went back to a totally live presentation.
I think it would, though.
I don't think it would. I think the only reason we've gotten it lately is because they've been able to pre-record stuff. I mean, we might get some, but we won't get the amount that we were getting. So
they've actually described some of their live events for did live descriptions. but I could see how that is a pain to do.
I kind of like all the special effects they worked into these events the last couple of years. It makes it fun, keeps it moving and pretty entertaining, which is, I know, a lot of people, especially people in the tech world, get pretty excited about this stuff, but for the general public, what can be a somewhat dry topic, especially when you start getting into specs and stuff, being able to keep that energy flowing through the whole show for 2 hours is
well, and nobody's there that has the charisma of Steve Jobs. And
no.
somebody said on TikTok, and I kind of agree, Tim Cook does not have the charisma that he even had 5 years ago. He doesn't.
Mm-mm.
It's just, good morning, here's what we got. And they get into it. And the other presenters, some of them had no charisma. Like, they were just very deadpan. And I feel like we don't have the same Steve Jobs charisma that he had when he would do these events. I feel like it's kind of a tradition to do these events now, but Apple still is doing better than other companies on these things, I have to say.
I would like to see some new buzzwords come into play. The current load of buzzwords for these presentations is getting a little old.
Yeah. So, but, it's an Apple event. What can you do?
We still watch it. We still love it. We still go buy the product. So
Apple Christmas,
Apple has hooked us in.
So then we, have all this cool stuff. So one thing I want to talk to everybody that's listening about is we do have a WhatsApp group, and it's called the iAccessibility Community, and it's a place for people to gather to talk about all this cool stuff that we talk about on the podcast, and to discuss these things, get questions answered, and things like that. If you would like to be part of this WhatsApp group of 76 people strong, send an email to iaccessibility@iaccessibility.net, and we can get you set up. All right, and so it's time for our big topic for today that everybody, I'm sure, is interested in, and that's
the reason why we're here.
Yeah, exactly. And there's been 2 products released over the years. One has one version, one has several. It's like, we have the OrCam that, has had several releases and products over the years. We have the OrCam Read and the OrCam My Eye, and there's been others, and the My Eye Pro. Didn't the first OrCam My Eye, Leslie, have a cable?
Yes, the first generation and the 1.5 had the cable. They didn't move to the wireless version until the OrCam 2.0.
Mm-hmm. So, and then we also have we have the OrCam Read, which is kind of a laser pointer based device, and that's kind of interesting because it's just different. You don't really see that much.
Right, and that is mostly designed for people with reading disabilities, learning disabilities, or brain injuries that make it or difficult for them to process visually written material, because it's certainly doable to use it as a blind person, but it can be a little trickier. I find it difficult to target the paper that I'm trying to read. It has a laser pointer that can either point as a single point if you want it to read the whole thing, or it can frame a block of text, which requires some vision to do that. And it does not give you any kind of auditory feedback as to which pointer you have it set on. So that's one of the things that I've talked to the OrCam people about, as far as this is something I'd love to see fixed, where it did tell you what pointer you were on. But I have met some blind people that certainly like the OrCam read, primarily because the battery life is longer. You get 4 hours of battery life on the OrCam read of usable time, as opposed to the 90 minutes of continuous use you get with the My Eye 2 or the My Eye Pro. And that's just because there's more room for a bigger battery. I mean, it's about the length of a pencil, about a 1/2 inch wide, about 1 inch tall. It does have tactile buttons instead of that touch bar, so some people find that easier to use. And I found it most easy to target what I'm trying to read if I hold it up next to the side of my face, just like where the My Eye 2 or the My Eye Pro would be.
Right.
But it's only been out since 2020 is when they released that product. So it's not gotten a big hold.
Aren't they on the second iteration of that now? Like a new updated version that has the smart read features, I believe?
Yes. All of the OrCam devices, the My Eye 2 and the My Eye Pro, when the My Eye Pro was released, and some of the My Eye 2 devices, as long as they started with a serial number of 07, they were capable of getting the smart read update and the orientation mode update. And they did add that to the OrCam read as well. So those changes came also in 2020. So any device, My Eye 2 device that was issued or built after January of 2020 or from January of 2020 on could pick up that smart read function, as well as the orientation mode. And the My Eye Pro certainly took that to the next level, and also included last year they included the ability to use the device almost completely hands-free with the Hey OrCam option.
Yeah. Now, so OrCam has several different models, and then we have the Envision glasses, which has one model. The one thing about the Envision glasses is they do have several different types. So it's basically Google Glass on several different frames, and there's 2 options on the website. And I've heard that there's talk of a third, but whenever I've looked at the website, that was not available on their website. So it may be something special. And I believe OrCam My Eye is $4,500. Is that right, Leslie?
Yes. Well, I'm actually not sure if it's 4,500 or 55. They come with a set of glasses to mount the OrCam on, but they also come with mounts that can be added to just about any pair of glasses.
Yeah. Whereas I think the Envision glasses are a little more specific as to what you can mount those on. I think they do come off of the frame that you have them on, but it only works with certain glasses. And those were $3,500, and then they became $2,500, right, Taylor? $24.99 actually.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. They just dropped that price. Back in July or August?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And we thought it would be a temporary thing, but it looks, at least for now, that's what it's staying at. And there's a discount if you're an Envision Lifetime member as well, if you purchase that.
I have not heard about the Envision Lifetime option.
There is also a discount too if you are a IRA customer. They'll give you 10% off too.
Mm-hmm.
So that's to buy the glasses. Is there a subscription for the Envision glasses as well?
The only subscription that we know about is to update the software every year, you would pay $100. We haven't gotten a full. I haven't seen that on the website.
Yeah, I haven't gotten a full confirmation about that.
But that is something that's been talked about.
So there's a cost for the maintenance agreement, but I was wondering if there was a cost to use. So the thing that's interesting, I think, about the Envision glasses is that it's a much more internet-centric device, and so it relies on services on the internet. And I was wondering if you had to pay to be able to access those on a subscription basis.
You did have to pay. So it used to cost, I want to say, and don't quote me on this, it was like $7.99 a month for the app, to use the app. If you were just using the Envision app before the glasses came out, and they have now made the Envision app free to use. So it may be that there is only the maintenance update.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then, of course, the Envision glasses don't have their own internet connection. So you may have to pay your cell phone carrier if you use hotspot to connect them, or use them only on Wi-Fi.
So they won't use cellular data. You have to use a
Correct.
hotspot. Okay.
Yeah.
Correct. Yeah.
But they are, one of the things that is really neat is they are working to add offline mode to all of or as many features as they can. And I do believe they make it very easy to connect the glasses to your hotspot. And it doesn't use, I don't think they use very much data when they do what they do.
Not at all.
And one of the neat things is they do have 6 hours of battery life. So they are a little more bulky than the My Eye because it takes up the whole right side of your face.
Right.
Not the whole side of your face, but the whole
side of the glasses.
Right. So it goes from the back of your ear to where the camera is in front of your face, and there's a little screen as well. So it's a little more bulky, but I think you also have a speaker. It uses Google text-to-speech because, again, it's Google Glass. It's proprietary. It's Google's proprietary sold glasses solution, but it has its own. Both products have their merits, but one of the things that OrCam does not. One thing that OrCam has that the Google Glass, Envision glasses can also do, but not as well, is you could point at things. Well, Envision glasses don't have the pointing. You could point at things and OrCam takes a picture, whereas the Envision glasses just lets you scan. But the one thing Envision glasses has that OrCam doesn't have is an instant text reading function. So it will just read whatever you're looking at and instantly. So if I move my head and it finds text, it'll just start reading it out loud. It doesn't have to start by taking a picture.
Right. And OrCam will do that, not instantly. If you put it in stare mode, it will do that after you've looked at a block of text for 3 seconds. It will take a picture. So it's not instant, but you can do it hands-free without having to point or touch the touch bar.
That 6 hour battery life for Envision, is that 6 hour while doing constant read? I imagine not. Do you know what the realistic time frame is?
I am not sure.
Maybe 3 to 4. Because I remember when we were at the mall and we did some stuff, it was about 3 to 4.
When we have instant text on, it was draining it pretty quick.
I bet it
Yeah.
was.
Right.
It's constantly scanning for information.
We had it at 50%. And for whatever reason on Taylor's, I don't know if it's a defect or not, but at about 15%, it just turns off. So I don't know. We really have not had the time to take it out at 100% and just really put it through its paces. But I think that's something that we want to do. But one of the things is we were starting a scavenger hunt, and I told her, all right, I'm going to stand and I'm going to tell you where to go, and you have to find it. 2 of the 2 stores that I told her to find, she found. The problem with one of them was that there was a middle island of stores in between it, so that got her turned around, and so she couldn't figure out how to get around that, so it made her lost. but she was able to find, like, the first one was Verizon, and it was just a clear shot. And then I said, all right, now GameStop is downstairs. Try to find that. And so she was walking right towards it, found the center part of the mall, and that threw her off. And so, she didn't recover, and the battery died, so that wasn't very useful.
That's not helpful.
Yeah. So it was working until it didn't.
Right. Which is why I'm always a huge proponent of low-tech solutions.
Right.
Learn how to ask for directions.
Yep.
And find people.
Those things are important, but the challenge was to see what the technology would let you do. And one of the bad things about the Envision glasses that we found with the instant text is it was somewhat too good, actually.
It was.
So we were sitting in the food court and she had them on, and she was looking across the mall, and she's like, "Oh, are we near JCPenney's?" I said, "Yeah, it's about 50 feet away, on the other side of that big area in the mall, like how the two, when you're on the second floor, you have the area below where you can look down and all that."
Oh, right.
It was on the other side of the mall from that. So it wasn't seeing stores that were nearby, it was seeing stores opposite of where we were, so it was way off in the distance.
Right, and I suspect it probably picked it up because if I remember correctly, the JCPenney name is pretty block letter, so it's an easy font to pick out, and it's also pretty high contrast if I remember.
Well, and she was able to see, Skechers is over that direction, and this, Verizon's over there, and she was reading other store names and putting in the direction where they were. So that instant text is that's almost the whole reason to have the glasses, in my opinion.
Is it pretty much only line of sight? Is it only looking in front of you? Like if you're walking through the mall, will it tell you what stores you're passing, or how good is it at that kind of ambient?
Just what's in front of you,
scanning.
which is what I would want, is to see what's in front of you, because if you're getting everything on the sides, then that would be a little distracting. If you're like, well, is that on my left? Is that on my right?
Now, one thing that Envision has made clear, at least they did in the times that I talked with them, and I don't know how your experiences was, Michael and Taylor, but they make it clear that we are not the perfect solution. We are a solution that you can use to observe what's going on in your environment, but we're going to give you often clips of words when you're scanning things that should give you enough that would, if I'm looking a little bit to my right a little bit and I see that I'm walking past JCPenney, well, I hear Penny and I'm like, oh, was that JCPenney? I'll then probably pause and turn my body or turn further to the right to scan that in order to help me. I like that mainly to keep my orientation, so I can just turn my head and hear what's next to me and keep my body facing the direction I was heading.
I did that a lot, yeah.
And I wonder how, I know OrCam's camera is set up to be much more wide angle than much more landscape than portrait, and I wonder how the Envision is set up as far as their framing of things.
I'm not sure. I'm really not sure on that, because I think because it's meant. Well, I'm not actually sure. The interesting thing is, and Leslie, I'm curious if the OrCam has this. We didn't have this feature when we originally unboxed the Envision glasses, but once we updated the software from 1.4 to 1.8, we got this feature.
Yeah.
Which was about an hour update or so.
Gosh, that was crazy.
Yeah. It gave us the ability to detect pages, like documents and things. And when we first did it, it said, okay, take the picture whenever you hear it. It would make these clicks or beeps, and the faster it would do that would be the more words on the page that it's detected. But once we did the update, it actually would say, move your head up and to the right, move your head down to the left, and then once you had your head lined up, it would automatically take the picture of the page. And it said, do not hold the corners. So it sounds like it's using corner detection, like contrast, to detect that.
Yeah.
Does OrCam have that?
OrCam has a similar feature, probably not quite as complex as that, where if you take a picture of text, it will try to give you some indication. So it may say the text seems upside down, or move your head, or move your document a little to the right or a little to the left. But it has to take that picture first to determine that. It will also tell you if there's not enough light. But you have to take that picture first, and then it's not going to be able to tell you when you have it lined up correctly. So one of the things that we teach when we teach the OrCam, very first thing, we start off teaching people how to line the paper up with your OrCam, and I start by having them, put the top of the page kind of at their hairline, or right where if they were wearing a baseball cap where the bill would be, and then just bringing it straight back. We have, sheets that we can use. I have a practice page that has, top line 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, middle line 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, bottom line. And I can teach people how to develop the muscle memory they need to properly line up documents that way. And the OrCam does give you hints as to, whether the page needs to be a little, like it will say there may be some lines of unreadable text, or, the left side of the page is cut off, or, it gives you some of that information, but you still have to then realign it and then take the picture and try again. It doesn't give you any kind of automatic picture taking when you're lined up. It will automatically take a picture if you look at something for more than 3 seconds, but it's not going to know until after it takes that picture whether or not you're lined up correctly or not. So we spend a little more time on the front end of teaching it to develop that muscle memory of exactly where to hold that document.
And one thing I did notice about OrCam is they do have the spoken, where you could tell it, what was it? Hey, OrCam?
Hey, OrCam. Right? Yes, they do have, it is almost completely controllable by voice now, especially if you put it in smart read mode. I can hold up a document and say, hey, OrCam, start smart read. Mm-hmm. And it will start smart read. And if it takes the picture and I need it to do it again, I can just say restart. And from that point on, I don't even have to say, hey, OrCam anymore. It's in that mode until I say exit. And I catch myself right now being very self-conscious, even though I don't have an OrCam here with me. I'm like, is it about to do something because I'm saying it out loud? So, we can make it virtually hands-free. Not quite. Mm-hmm. There's still going to be some times where you have to touch the touch bar, but we can make it almost virtually hands-free now.
And that's one of the areas where I think OrCam excels over the Envision is that there is a voice activation mode on the Envision, but it's not a hands-free mode. You have to press the button for voice access.
Right, and OrCam was like that until just last year. You did have to double tap the touch bar to activate the voice command prompt, and now you can set that to what they call full voice command, which is just the ability to say, hey, OrCam. One thing I'm curious about is the OrCam still, because this is one of the things I did not like about the OrCam let me reverse that. One thing I did not like about Envision versus the OrCam is that when you are looking at something with the OrCam and you take a picture, it's gonna determine what it is that's in front of you, whether it's a person, a dollar bill, a block of text. It's going to determine that on its own. But my understanding with Envision was that you had to physically put it in each mode that you wanted.
That is correct.
That is correct. Okay, correct. So that's still correct.
Yeah, and that's the only thing too. It's sometimes annoying because, like, if I'm at the mall and I want to be able to find a store, but then let's say that I'm trying to find Michael at the same time. I can't do that because I taught OrCam, or I did it again. I taught Envision how to recognize Michael's face with a face detection. But I would have to put it into face detection mode and only face detection mode, and I couldn't be able to read the store signs.
Right. So you'd have to just about know, okay, I'm going to put it in reading mode to find the store that I know he's in. And then once I get in that store, then I can switch it and look for him specifically.
Exactly, yeah.
Switch it. Whereas with the OrCam, it's going to be reading. You might have to take a picture, or you might have to put it in stare mode where it takes a picture every 3 seconds when you look at text. But you're going to be able to read text. And then when it sees Michael, if you have facial recognition set to automatic, it's just going to automatically tell you he's there.
Yeah.
Without having to switch modes. And that's one area I really like over the OrCam as far as simplifying its use, making it a little more user friendly.
And I think that's one of the areas where Envision admits that they are not the area for that. One of the things that I think that they do great at is, if you scan online, and probably eventually, even if they have add an offline mode for this, they have the ability to add formatting to their text that they do scans with. And they have a batch mode, so you could scan, like you could look at a book, take a picture of a page, and then go to the next page and take a picture and go, and then you could export it to your phone, and then you have that book on your phone, or you can email it. And stuff is set up in headings and paragraphs and all kinds of ways.
Which is very helpful.
Right. That is nice. I mean, you can do batch reading with OrCam as well, especially if you have it in Smart Read. Every time you turn the page, you say restart, and it will rescan. It'll scan the next page, but it does not save any text to the device itself. The only thing that the OrCam saves is if you do facial learning. It will store person profiles in there as far as what their face looks like for recognition purposes, and it will store products and barcodes, but it cannot store text.
So it's pretty exciting, that we have the choice, right? So Jim, I'm curious, after hearing everything you've heard, what are your thoughts? What are your opinions? As I don't know if you've used either of these devices. So what are your thoughts and opinions after hearing all the things that we've talked about?
I've used the OrCam and I wouldn't buy it. Leslie actually loaned me hers for like 2 weeks or something, and I hardly ever took it out of my backpack. Right, it was never where I needed it when I needed it, and I always just found more quicker solutions to figuring out whatever I needed to figure out. I am really curious to try the Envision glasses. I want to see how good they are at picking out landmarks. Like if I can use them to find exit signs and signs telling me where specific trains are leaving from, I would love to be able to use it. The thing is, where I really would like to be able to use it is in like tube stations, and there's no internet access there. So it would be a bit, it's going to be a bit challenging to kind of figure out if it has use cases for me. I'm also really curious to see how well it works with Ira, because the idea of having a pair of glasses to wear with Ira is attractive to me, but Ira is coming out with other glasses solutions that may wind up working better. So at the moment, I'm not ready to buy either one, but I am interested in taking a look at the Envision glasses and seeing, and seeing how far they've come.
Well, and one thing that we have not mentioned is that their instant text feature does have an offline mode.
It does.
Well, that's good. That's good to know.
That's very good to know. Okay.
The OrCam we did test, not in a tube station. We played around with it a lot when we were in DC last year, in the train stations and walking down the street. But I did have to, as I was walking, and I used my cane in my left hand. As I was walking, I just had to like randomly reach up and tap the touch bar. Now, had I had it in Smart Read mode, or had I had it in Smart Read mode, I probably could have just said restart and had it take a picture, but I still have to wait for it to take that picture every time to capture text, and we were able to find out more information in the train station. Like we found signs that were on the, written large on the back side of the tracks on the wall that we didn't realize were there. So it was handy for that. It was handy for walking down the street and getting a little confused by the GPS, and then just me having to randomly take pictures and find out, oh, this is this store, this is that store. And then when we got across the street from the restaurant we were looking for, and we weren't real clear exactly where it was, I took a picture and found the name of the restaurant. And but it did require some work on my part to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I'll give my 2 cents here, and then Michael B., I'm curious about your thoughts. But when I worked in the state government, I was such a big fan of OrCam because I could get it to read pretty much anything, on paperwork or anything like that. But one of the biggest things I would see is a lot of people would have trouble lining it up or aiming the my eye. And so that was just kind of my biggest thing with it. It could read good text, and sometimes I felt like the voice could be a little difficult to hear, just because of the cadence of the voice, especially outside. But I honestly felt like it was a good product, and you couldn't convince me otherwise. And then we had Crystal Vision, our local AT distributor, come out because Taylor wanted to look at the OrCam, and he said, well, have you looked at the Envision? And we said, kind of, but not really. And he gave us a demo, and I was just completely blown away by what they were able to do, as far as just not having to really put a lot of effort into aiming. Because one of the most frustrating things about OrCam, it would always be for me, you take a picture, no text found. I know there's text right here.
Yeah, that is a problem sometimes, and I've not quite figured out why that's a problem, but I have seen that.
So it was just the instant text in offline mode may not always be the best, but it would at least give you something, and again, I do believe we tried the Explore mode on the Envision glasses, and chair, couch, person.
Right.
It's atrocious. It's not great. It's just, it needs work. But one of the things that I like is that they admit that, and they are willing to work with users and get feedback and things like that. Michael Babcock, what are your final thoughts? Because we're going to have to wrap this thing up soon.
Yeah, I'll make my final thoughts fairly short so we can hit that hour mark. And my final thoughts are, I want to try these out. I know someone who is probably going to be purchasing them, and he's local to me, so him and I are already in communication. I'm going to play with his and see what I think, because I have had mixed experiences with the Envision app. It's done its job, it's worked well, and I know that's not a fair assumption to compare it to, because if you're wearing a pair of glasses, maybe the image you're taking is going to be more steady, and sometimes my hands are a little shaky. So it'll be interesting to play with it. I'm not going to go buy anything. I had no interest in the OrCam, and honestly, I had no interest in the Envision glasses at the price point that they were. But when they dropped down to $2,500, I realized, it's like, that's a decent MacBook that's sitting in my wife's backpack that's not being used, that I could be actually getting something out of. So we'll see what my experiences are, and I will definitely keep people aware. If you want to hear, don't forget about the WhatsApp group, because I'm sure I'll share there.
Yeah, and I was the one that blew it up earlier this week, so.
Yep. Taylor, do you have any final thoughts you want to talk about as far as the glasses that, in your experience? We got a few more minutes left, so.
Yeah, I really, really like the glasses. I understand that you need work, which is obviously true based on the, flaws that we found. However, it's still a really, really great tool. I had a lot of mail I had to read, and thanks to the Envision glasses, I realized that the state enrolled me in the wrong program. I'm not going to get into details, but I realized that they enrolled me in the wrong health insurance. So if it wasn't for the Envision glasses, I would not have had any idea that I was enrolled in a whole different health plan that I didn't even ask for. So thanks to those, I mean, they're just really awesome because I get the whole page. I can understand what's going on, and, I get a lot of mail. So that's just kind of one example.
And there's other methods for getting that information,
right.
But it's quick.
Yeah, it's quick and efficient.
It's neat because you could just look down, snap a picture. Okay, move on. Right. And same with OrCam. You could do very similar stuff with both of these, And
things. That's primarily what I use my OrCam for the most is just reading mail, because I could certainly do it with apps like Seeing AI or the Envision app, but it's so much easier to have something on my face pointed at the document. I just hold it up and either, wait for it to take a picture or point. In the case of the OrCam, which is a nice feature if you really need to focus the camera in on something and say, let's say we're in a store and here's all these product labels with prices, and I really just want you to focus on the one right in front of me. I can point at that and draw OrCam's attention to it.
So, I guess, yeah. So let's go ahead and wrap this thing up. And Leslie, do you want to give any contact information where people can find you online?
You can find me, you can email me at leslie@iaccessibility.net. You can find me on Twitter at lady_Lessa, which is LADY_LESSA.
All right. Taylor, what about you? Do you have any contact information you'd like to share?
Yeah, so you can find me producing content for iAccessibility. You can find me producing content for my new business, which I can get into, or it doesn't matter. But
maybe next time.
Yeah, maybe next time. So, yeah, you can find me, on YouTube. Basically, if you search my name, you should be able to find me.
All right. Jim, would you like to share any contact information?
You can reach me at Barbour, BARBOUR, at Barcore, BARCORE.com. And I look forward to hearing from folks.
And Michael Babcock, what about you? Would you like to share some contact info?
Certainly, you can find me producing some content for iAccessibility, other content for Accessible Media Incorporated, and for my own company. You can find me on Twitter at Payon, PAYOWN, and possibly in your favorite podcast app on another podcast as well.
All right, and you can find me, Michael Doise, producing content for iAccessibility. You can email me at Mike Doise, that's MikeDoise at iaccessibility.net. I'm Mike Doise on Twitter. I'm also on Facebook as Michael Doise. Just search for me there. And man, it sounds like I've done this before.
Just a few times.
Just a few times. And you can find iAccessibility at iAccessibility1 on Twitter, and you can hear more about that in the closing of the show. Thank you all for being here. This has been a great episode. I think this has been one of our better episodes, actually. We talked about a lot of stuff. And we'll be back with more of these, so stay tuned, and thank you all for listening, everybody on YouTube, and we will see you next time. All right, bye everyone.
Bye everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
And let me take us down off of YouTube. Thanks, YouTube.